Hey folks, Isolation Nation today. I've got
What's going on there?
With the glasses?
Yeah.
You can tell?
A little crooked.
Yeah, Wrigley got a hold of them. But fortunately, my nose is a little bit crooked as well, so it kind of balances off. Today's show, we have huge hopes for because it's something we've never done before. We've got 6 guests. You may not have heard of them. That's why we asked them to introduce themselves, with their illness, of course.
Hi, my name is Colleen Rennie, and I suffer from depression, anxiety, and I am a recovering alcoholic.
Hi, I'm Courtney Taylor, and I've suffered from anxiety and depression for pretty much all of my life.
Hi, I'm Jake Gottlieb, and I suffer from depression and anxiety.
Hey, I'm Corey Landsberg, and I suffer from anxiety, OCD, and I really need a hair. No, not showing you my hair, sorry.
Hi, I'm Sean Miller, and my depression started the moment I became friends with Michael Landsberg.
Hi, my name is Leanne Toshika-Simpson. I live with bipolar disorder, and my medicine cabinet looks like a bulk barn.
What do all those people have in common? It's pretty simple. They're all just everyday people.
Wait.
Everyday person.
What the are you talking about?
Everyday people? From a B celebrity?
Everyday person.
What does that even mean?
Whoa! Talk about indignation. Is there anything wrong, Case, with saying everyday people?
A little condescending.
Okay, well, there's not much I can do to take it back. So let's just say this. Thank you for doing the show. So to all of you, are we good?
Now I understand why Shale Sonnen didn't come on your show recently.
Seriously?
He's such a
You're such a jerk.
Thank you, Michael Landsberg. Oh, my cats are downstairs.
Wow. Not what I expected. Everyday people. I'll say it again. You know why I say it again? Because I can't sing it. But you know who can? Sean Cullen. We asked him to do Sly and the Family Stones. Everyday people with a little bit of Sly, since we're only allowed to use 15 seconds.
Sometimes I'm right, and I can be wrong. My own beliefs are in my song. The butcher, the banker, the drummer, and them makes no difference what group I'm in. I'm everyday people. There is a blue one who can't accept the green one, for living with a fat one, trying to be a skinny one. Different strokes for different folks, and shoo and so on, and shoo be doo. Ooh, sha sha. We got to live together. I am everyday people. Yeah, yeah. I am everyday people.
Oh my gosh, how awesome is that? How great is that, Leanne Simpson? Wait, you are Leanne. Are you Sean Miller? One sec. Corey Landsberg, I know you're not. How are you, Leanne?
I am good. And you know, I'm a lot less mad at you for calling me an everyday person now that someone has sung it so nicely.
Yeah, you know what? It's Sean's awesome, and that's the theme for today. And people should know also that, you know, those reactions, obviously, I told you to do them. So, Leanne, you are guest number 1 on a show that we got tired of hearing from people. Oh, why do you always put people that have some fame on the show? You know, we want to hear from what? Who?
Everyday
people. So let's, you mentioned that you suffer from bipolar disorder.
Yeah, so I was diagnosed when I was 17. Originally, I was put on antidepressants, but the thing is, when you're bipolar and you're put on some kinds of antidepressants, it makes you do a little bit of a swing. And I jumped out of a 40-foot tree or something, and I'm afraid of heights. So everyone was like, something is wrong.
The medication not only didn't make you better at the time, but it made you worse, which gets to the heart of something that unfortunately is all too common, and that is wrong diagnosis. Because there's no blood test, right? You can't ever definitively find out, you know, with a number or an X-ray.
Yeah, 100%. It took me about 16 different medications to find something that worked for me. And it's been about 10 years now, and it's been a hard road, but you just got to keep throwing everything you have at the wall until something sticks. And having people around you keep you going is really important, like you.
But what you just said though is, I've been hammering that home for 10 years, which is you gotta be willing to fight. And it's really hard, right? When, especially medications, they don't typically work, they don't work instantly. So, like you got to wait 3 weeks to find out, is it doing anything? It can just be so dispiriting. How have you been able to hang in there and just, keep fighting, even though I'm sure everything was telling you don't fight anymore?
For me, writing was really helpful when I was going through all of these changes. I could barely keep track of what day of the week it was. I was like losing clumps of hair in my shower. My skin was turning purple. And, kind of writing about where I had been and where I was going was really helpful in reminding myself that I was a fighter and I was going to keep fighting this thing, even when it seemed like there was nothing ahead of me. And now I've kept all those journals and I look back at those years, particularly the years before I met you, and I can't believe what a difference it has made to meet other people who were going through the same thing and hold on to that.
Wait a sec. Is my skin looking purple like yours? Wait a second.
You're lucky. The purple thing was one of the scary ones. Yeah.
Was that a side effect of the medication?
Yeah, that was one of the side effects. And then that gets to the point where your doctor's like, I'm going to give you this narcolepsy medication to battle your side effects of your other medication. You're just like, whoa, this is a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure they know you at a Shoppers Drug Mart or wherever. Well, you just moved, right? Didn't you just move into your first house?
It's exciting. I've been gardening all day, which is why I had a hose in one of the things. But yeah, I refuse to change pharmacies because I'm so tight with my old pharmacist. I could never abandon them.
If you wanted to change, I'm sure all kinds of pharmacies would bid on you for sure, because you are probably like me. I have, I think, 4 or 5 prescriptions. So when we talk about this illness, there's a name for it. It's called bipolar disorder. Used to be called manic depression. What does it feel like to you? And do you have flips back and forth now between mania and depression?
I think over time, the flips have gotten less frequent. And because of the medication, the way it works, the flips are a bit less dramatic. I can kind of tell when I'm heading into mania because I will have a lot of ideas and I'll start a lot of projects and not be able to finish them, or I'll shop and I'll buy people really extravagant gifts like a helicopter ride. And they're like, I'm afraid of heights. I'm like, I didn't think about that while I was doing this. And so it's helpful because sometimes I can't see what's happening to myself, but people who know me really well will be like, hey, it seems like you spent a lot when we went out today, or how's your spending? And having the kind of relationships where people feel comfortable asking you about things they know crop up for you in your illness, it makes a big difference because I can't always see the signs even now.
And how about the flip side, depression?
The depression is tough because I'm actually writing a romantic comedy for people with mental illness, and it's really hard to write comedy when you're depressed. So, I mean, it's hard to write anything. And so I can kind of feel my creative process slowing a bit when I'm heading into a depression. And so being a little bit gentle to myself and being like, hey, you may not write like 2,000 words today, but you're going to take care of yourself so that you will have a better writing day and a better living day in the future.
Now, do you have a preference? Which one of those 2 evils are better or worse?
I definitely think mania is more enjoyable than depression just on a base level, but it also has, I think, the worst effect on my life as a whole, because if you kind of go too high, the crash is really, really hard to get out of. So I try to keep it so I can curb things before they get too out of hand.
And you should take as much time as you want, 20 seconds, 30 seconds to speak to others that may have bipolar, that maybe haven't done nearly as well as you have done.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you talked to me 5 years ago, 7 years ago, I would not be doing well at all. And it honestly is a really lifelong journey of learning. I'm always reading about new things and trying new therapies. I just did CBT and I'm doing mindfulness exercises, and I'm never going to stop trying something new that could potentially help me and other people in the future. because you become a source of knowledge after a while.
You do. And it's also, there's something empowering about taking this really bad thing in your life and helping others with it. You know, obviously helping others helps others, but I really believe that it helps us as well.
Yeah, for sure. One of the best things I've done since kind of being a little bit more on the road to recovery is I teach creative writing workshops for other people living with mental illness and addiction. And the community you build there and the things that you get to write about and share about, it's really incredible to see how far others have come and like really celebrate that journey with other people.
Hey, Simmer, thanks for great to see you. Don't go anywhere, because who knows when we'll be desperate for you, especially if Sean Miller sucks, then, you know, we'll have to bring you back. But that's not going to happen, Sean Miller. Sean Miller, you are my buddy. I told you that just so you won't forget it. You and I have been at times like brothers. You have been through hell, and honestly, man, of all the people that I have ever met in my journey in mental health, there's nobody who I respect more for just never giving up. A guy who said, I'll do anything to get better. So that's how I see you.
Thank you. That is really beautiful. And I got to first of all say, I love you, man. You're such a good friend. You've been there for me so often when I'm going through stuff. And your show, I love it. It's so nice to have, because of the warmth and the vulnerability that people have and the humor. Just talking about such an important subject is amazing. So I've really appreciated that.
So how are you doing? Now, you moved about as far away from me as you could possibly get from me in Canada. You are on Vancouver Island. Sure. And you've been there for months now. I'm just gonna guess 9 months, 10 months, a year.
Good guess. 9 months. Okay.
So how are you doing? And you know, I always like to hear it quantified because it's easier to understand. So the worst you've ever been is a 1, and the best you've ever been is a 10. What are you today, this exact moment?
Well, with the anxiety of being on the show, I'm a 3, but I'm about a 7 or 8 in general. I'm actually it's a really good day, to be honest. I've been feeling good and which is amazing. And I'm sort of been up and down, as you know. And when I'm feeling good, I feel so happy to be alive, because when I feel down, it's so brutal and so painful that I really have that, that feeling of joy and awareness of how lucky I am to just be feeling good. So
that is so amazing, man. You shocked me there when you said, you know, I'm a 7 or an 8. That is really, that's so good. Because honestly, I'm not talking to you because it's not like I have to tell you about your battles, but, you know, people should know that. How long have you suffered from severe depression at times? I know obviously it's come and gone, but how long?
Probably 30 plus years. I mean, I was paralyzed as a kid. I had this 1 year where it sort of triggered probably something 14 or 15 years old but then after that, it really started in my 20s, on and off. And as you know, I've done everything. Everything. Just how many medications? On and off, probably, 15, on and on, trying different things. I mean, I haven't been on anything in a number of years, because for me, I'll name them. I mean, medications I've tried ECT, I've tried deep brain stimulation I had done for years, every intensive meditation and intensive, alternative stuff. And some things have had their moments of working and some things haven't.
Yeah.
For me, the medication, sadly, it just didn't really work as effectively, and I had some issues with it. So.
Yeah, I lived through a couple of those with you, and one of them was Vyvanse, which is a stimulant for ADHD, which, by the way, I think you may have got me hooked on the Vyvanse, because I am Vyvanced right now. I take it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But when you were in Florida, you started on the Vyvanse, and for like 3-4 days, it was like the sound of your voice was so different. And then one day, because we spoke every day then, right? And I said, "Hey, Sean, how you doing?" And your answer was, "Buddy, not good." And I was just heartbroken for you, because it is as bad as being in jail is. To get out of jail for 2 hours and then be put back is even worse.
Yeah, no, I'm first of all, I love your imitations of me. You do the best imitations of me.
Buddy. No, I'm not good, buddy.
I love your voice.
No, but you always have the positive spin. So this would be Sean.
Right.
I'm not good, but it's okay. It's okay. I'll get through this. It could be worse. So yeah, I'm okay, but I'm not okay.
I think you should just interview yourself about me, because you do me perfectly better than I can do me. But I would, yeah, it was really hard with the Vyvanse, because this has happened a few times with medications where I'll have like 2 or 3 days where I'm like, oh my God, I'm better. I'm myself. I've never felt more connected in my humor and my silliness, and everything comes back. And then it just stops working. And that's what happened with Vyvanse. I had this amazing couple of days, and then it is very painful to suddenly go back into the zone. I know, it's brutal.
Oh, it's just, I know, how many people do I know in this conversation? There's 7 of us, and I bet you we all know exactly what it's like to have your hopes boosted. Hope is everything, right? And then you take it, and the hope that you had for the medication actually is reflected in how you feel. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, Sean, now you got a taste of what it's like. We're going to take it away from you.
Yeah, totally. That's exactly what it's like. And it's a strange thing, because when you know what it's like to have joy in life, I do love life, as probably everyone else here does, and so it's an amazing thing to know what it feels like to be connected, and to feel joy, and then to suddenly have it completely taken away. It's such
a question here on Facebook. What was ECT like?
Oh, it was just a fun day in that. No, it for me, it didn't work. It didn't work. So I had 2 sessions done, and I didn't notice any difference. So it didn't upset me. It didn't affect me. I was in a pretty bad place already, so it didn't make it worse or better, but it didn't work for me.
And you said you had deep brain stimulation. You're the only person that I know. I was a little skeptical. It sounded to me like some kind of place that you'd get out at the airport, the seedy places there, deep brain stimulation. Ooh, sounds sensual. But do you have a scar that you can show us?
Well, I don't know if you can see. Luckily my hair grew back, because it's pretty wild. Like you can see, I've had it taken out. I've actually had it taken out. I've had it in for 10 years. So there's a scar. So what it is, deep brain stimulation, is they put into electrodes in your brain. They put this wire down into this battery pack in the middle of your chest, and it calms down an area in the brain. They sort of talk about it's like white noise for an area that's overactive. And again, it worked for a while for me, but then it stopped working. And it was an amazing moment. I had seen it on 60 Minutes, and it was at a time when I was really desperate. And they were doing it in Toronto. They had 4 of 6 people with really, really bad depression had gotten better. So I was like, oh my gosh, I got to do this. And I just became a pit bull to try and get into the study. And I was the 21st person to have it done. And it was amazing. Like after 4 months, it suddenly worked. And I had this beautiful, almost year and a half where I was pretty good. And then I think my brain just stopped working.
Yeah. And when I introduced you, I said you're one of the people that I admire most because of your spirit that is unquenchable. It's like you keep going. And now I think people understand, given all the things that you've tried. Thanks, Sean. Don't go anywhere. Keep hanging out. But good job, man. I don't know how often you've shared your experiences into a camera, but you're a pretty remarkable guy. I love you, man.
Love you too, buddy. You're awesome. I appreciate that.
Courtney Taylor. Oh my gosh, you have got the cutest baby in the world. Although mine may have been cuter when they were young. But your baby Hope was born when?
January 9th.
And that would make her, she doesn't know much other than COVID-19, I guess, but you would be home in your house anyway, right? You newborn baby, it's not like you were going back to work instantly.
No, I was, the first 2 months, she's now been in isolation longer than she's been out. So the first 2 months was like a revolving door of visitors, because I have a massive village. So I would be home, but I would have people around all the time. And now nobody's been able to visit, nobody's been able to see her, snuggle her. So it's been rough, but a lot of people have a lot worse. So I don't really like to complain about it.
Yeah, but that's what we all say in this conversation. It's like, when when I tell my story, people go, "Oh my gosh, that's too bad," or whatever. And the immediate reaction is that a lot of people have it worse. But there's been times in my life actually where I didn't think anybody had it worse. That's how crappy I felt. When you said in your open, you said that you've had depression for most of your life.
Mostly anxiety, but both most of my life. But I'm more heavy in the anxiety, and then it kind of flips over into the depression if I get in a real state of anxiety. I've had about 4 or 5 bouts of depression, but the anxiety is the main guy.
So you must have been very concerned about postpartum depression. I don't know if postpartum anxiety exists.
It does. Yeah,
it does.
And psychosis, a whole bunch of stuff, actually. Yeah.
So were you able to take precautions? Did that, did you keep measuring yourself after you had hope that you're going, am I okay? Am I okay? Because that paranoia is devastating to many of us, this worry that it's coming back.
Yeah, big time, actually. Throughout the pregnancy, I was fine. My anxiety was pretty low. I was pretty healthy throughout the entire pregnancy mentally. And then my doctor said, we'd always monitor you very closely if you ever got pregnant because you're predisposed. So it was actually the day I got home from the hospital. We've been home about half an hour, and then I just kind of completely fell apart. So my mom and a couple friends said, there was no way we could prepare you for this. This is just the hormones. But I spent the next 2 weeks every day wondering, is this just the hormones for me, or is this more? So it was a constant state of paranoia. Is this going to turn into PPD? Is it going to turn into postpartum anxiety? What if I can't get out of bed? What if I can't feed her? So the paranoia for that was pretty heavy, but luckily for me, it was just the regular postpartum every woman experiences, and it leveled out. But that was definitely a huge concern.
I guess I asked Sean how he's doing, and to give a number, we call it the Sichter scale. Actually, I say we. I don't think anybody else calls it the Sichter scale, but I'm going to stick with it. So 0 is like the absolute worst that you've been, and 10 is kind of like perfect, not meaning euphoria, because you're not supposed to feel euphoric if nothing euphoria-inducing happens. So it's the potential to feel that way. So what would you say your number is today?
I'd probably say I'm pretty steady 7.
And what's the worst you've been?
Since I've had hope, or ever?
No, ever.
Ever? Oh, probably 0.
Yeah. So, I put it this way. If you've been a 0 and you feel like a 5, that 5 feels like an 8, because the contrast to the 0 is so profound. And, this feeling of this weight being taken off, even if it's not all taken off, just a little bit of relief feels like a lot of relief.
My mom's yelling in the background, 8, as if to say, no, say you're an 8.
That's what parents do, though. Parents, here's the thing that parents do.
Or maybe she's saying she's an 8. I don't know.
Yeah. One of the things as a parent is so much of our love is shown in wishful thinking. So, it's like you say to your kid, and this is particularly difficult with mental health, right? You say to your kid, you seem like you're doing a lot better. And then the kid goes, no, I'm not doing well. No, you seem like, I kind of think you're doing a little better. Maybe you don't realize you're doing better. And, I did that with Casey, with her vision when she was young. I used to say all the time, Casey, I think you're seeing better. And she would say, no, I'm not. And there was so much hope that I felt, so much, like wishful thinking that it impacts. And I think it's most challenging for parents when it comes to mental health. So cut your mom some slack.
Okay, I will. And I have to, because she's been moved in helping me with hope the whole time. So I have to cut her slack.
Yeah, honestly, when I said your baby is adorable, I meant from we say that all the time, right? To people. Oh, your kid's cute.
No, they weren't. I said from the hop, I said to my mom, I said, I think people know if their baby isn't the cutest.
I don't think so.
You don't? I think people do. I think you love it, but you look at it and you're like, damn, I wish my baby was cuter. But I mean, she really did turn out pretty cute. So I was like, damn, sometimes I'll look at her and I'll be like, she is cute. Yeah, she's really cute. Thank God she's cute.
Yeah, yeah. I had this experience once. Corey, who'll be on momentarily, and Casey, who's beside me, and Karen, who's on the other side, have heard this story before. But it was somebody I worked with, and I was out of town for a sporting event. And I saw this guy in the lobby of a hotel. And he said to me, "Oh my gosh, Michael, good to see you. You got to see my baby." And he brings the kid out, and honest to God, it's a devil child. I mean, I think the kid had a mustache. He was probably like I don't know, a year old. And I thought, can I tell him that his baby is cute or adorable or what a beautiful baby? Is he going to go to me? No, he's not. This baby here is ugly. So I said, "Oh, he's very cute." And he was nodding. He goes, "Isn't he?" And I thought, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. Thanks for chatting with us, Courtney.
Anytime, buddy.
Okay, buddy. I just realized that everybody that's been on this show so far has helped us with SickNotWeak, and you certainly have. And
really?
yeah, you have. And so has this woman, Colleen Rennie, Beamsville's finest. You're the only person I know from Beamsville.
Keep it that way. It's good.
How are you?
You know, I'm good. I've just been going day by day, trying to stay grounded, and that's it.
I met you, I guess, for the first time. Was it in Peterborough?
No. Okay. Yes. The
Yes.
first time we met face to face. Yes.
Right. So we were doing an event in Peterborough, and you came out to help us, and you had such a rough time. I mean, to the point where, like, I hang out with people all the time that have rough times. But what were you experiencing on that night?
I remember I was experiencing a ton of anxiety. At the time, I lived in Woodstock, and so I think I drove to Peterborough from Woodstock. And I picked somebody up in Toronto. I had forgot my debit card. I didn't have enough gas. So it was just a lot of kind of chaos going on, and I didn't know what to do. But going there, hearing the stories, leveled me right out.
So that triggered you, hearing other people speak about their own battles. Like Jennifer Hedger spoke on that night, and I thought she was amazing. And Theo Fleury spoke. So hearing other people's stories can be medicinal, but it can also be poisonous for us.
For sure. It definitely, I see it more as medicine than anything. It definitely can trigger those intense feelings, but at the end of the day, like, we need stories. That's how we're all healing.
We do, for sure. And you know, you feel terrible when something you do triggers other people, but that happens. And that's kind of like the price that's the risk of trying to help people, is that others may hear it, and instead of helping them and having them go, "Wow, somebody understands me," the reaction can be, as it apparently was with you, sort of flashing back to your own struggles. Mm-hmm. When you introduce yourself as a recovering alcoholic?
Yep.
How long have you been clean and sober for?
Next month, it will be 6 years. So sometime.
Of all the things that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I'll ask it. Are you proud of yourself?
I am very proud of myself. Yes. It has not been an easy road, but absolutely totally worth it.
You know, what I was going to say is your sobriety for 6 years. Is that one of the things in your life that you would be most proud of?
Oh yeah. Without my sobriety, I wouldn't be here. My mental health was just declining and declining. I didn't want to be here. I tried taking my life. It wasn't mixing with my medications, the alcohol and the drugs that I were taking. It was making everything worse.
Colleen, when did you start experiencing not drinking, but when did you start to feel like, oh gosh, you know, there's something crappy in my head going on here?
It was just after a while, I didn't know how to be in spaces with people without feeling this intense emotion come on. And I was just always down and unmotivated, and, you know, nothing would be wrong. Everything would be fine. But I felt like it was just the end of the world constantly.
And is that the point, because of that feeling, that you started drinking? Because, taking a drink or drinks relieved that feeling temporarily?
Definitely, near, I call it my career, the end of my drinking career, that was a lot of what I sought. But at the beginning, it was just, this is normal. This is what we do. This is how we have fun. This is how we relax. Now I've learned there's so many alternatives to that. And yeah.
So what got you to stop drinking?
The second time trying to take my life, waking up after that experience and realizing, okay, I'm still here. Not to get too deep, but I had written a letter that I had said to my family, share my story, use it for impact. And waking up the next day and over time, seeing those words, it's like, no. Okay, I'm here. I'm going to share my story. It's time to take accountability.
So you reading your own note actually helped you after the fact. Is that correct?
Yeah. Big time.
Wow. I've never heard anybody say that. I'm sure it's not that uncommon, to read the words that probably, if you leave a note and you're attempting to take your own life, when you read those words after the fact, I'm sure they look like, I can't believe that I wrote that. I can't believe that I wanted to die, because, that's something that isn't generally with us all the time. So when you're feeling okay, you must look back and say, what the hell was I thinking?
Well, exactly. I mean, there have been times throughout my sobriety in my early years where I've had those thoughts, but still not to the point where I actually want to take the action,
When was the last time you had a suicidal thought?
That would have been 3.5 years ago. And thank God that I was sober, because I was actually the one who dialed 911 and had them intervene.
And since that time, well, let me ask you, what number are you right now? You heard me talking to the others about numbers. 0's the worst, 10's the best. Where would you be today?
Today, I'm definitely at an 8. I've been doing a lot of work throughout this COVID, even with my therapist, and working on my traumas, sorting through it. I mentioned I'm a yoga teacher now, and that is just like, it's heaven. It really is. It's changed everything.
Isn't that great? That makes me so happy. Unless you're all lying, right?
Well,
Sean goes it could be maybe like Sean says I'm a 7 or an 8. When he said that, it was like, are you kidding me? That is so good. Oh my gosh. Because, I have at times spoken to him once a day, probably for a year, and he never hit a 7 or 8. And I'm so happy for you that you're in a good place, that you're doing yoga, which you say is heaven. You've been sober for 6 years. You haven't had a suicidal thought for 3.5 years. That, Dorothy Colleen Rennie, is awesome news.
Thank you, Landsberg. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you. So hang out, because Jake's up next. You met my nephew, right?
Yeah. Hey, Jake. Enjoy.
Hey, Jake. How are you, Jake? What's going on?
I'm good. How are you, Michael?
I'm just great. And that is quite the beard you got going there.
I know. And the sad thing is, it's only like a week.
That is ridiculous. You're my nephew. Oh my gosh. Like, I thought you were 12. Are you no longer 12 years old?
No, flip it. 21 now.
21. Well, I mean, it's not like anybody watching would know this, but I'm, you don't necessarily, you love all your relatives, but you don't necessarily really like all your relatives, find them interesting. But you would be one that I would put in the list and say, what a really great kid, well, or formerly a kid, but also, what a strong individual who's been able to share his struggles with, as you said before, depression and anxiety. So take us back. When was the first time you feel like something was wrong?
Well, when I was younger, I used to get really down. I used to, if someone would say bully me or something, I would take a lot of offense to it. And that one thing that they would say would just be ringing in my head all day. So that's when I kind of started thinking, I think I'm taking these things a little too, maybe I'm too sensitive or something. And then when I was in first year of university, which was, I think, 2016, I remember I was writing a exam. I think it was a final exam for like a philosophy course, and I thought I completely bombed it because in my essay I mixed up two people, and so I trashed my room, and that was the first time I tried to take my life. I just remember I put like a blanket or wrapped it around my head and tried to suffocate myself. And then I just remember at the end, kind of like coming to and being like, I don't want to do this again. I called my mom and saying, I think I need to talk to someone. I need to get some help.
You have two loving and adoring parents, which it has never been an insulation to protect you from mental health issues. I mean, well, you know my parents, you know my mom before she passed away. Tough to know her after she passed away. And my dad, I mean, I came from like the dream house, married the dream woman, got amazing kids. And yet, you know, like this illness has been with me. That must have been, how tough a conversation was that to call your mom?
It was hard. It's things like I remember it being like it's hard to explain when you don't really know what's going on with you. It's hard to explain what you're going through and try to like explain it in a way where they can try to feel what you're feeling. So that was hard. Because I remember I'm not like a very emotional person. I remember I was breaking down into tears. And it was hard, just explaining. I remember like thinking like I come from again like a very good home, loving parents. Like if I wanted something, I didn't really want for much because like my parents provided for me and everything, but I was still depressed. I didn't know why, so it was hard to explain. When someone asks, you say I don't know why. I'm just depressed. I can't explain why.
That's the depression. I think in a lot of cases, if you can explain why, that it's not depression, the illness, it's crappy time in your life, right? Depression, the illness to me is just this loss of the ability to experience joy, which has nothing necessarily to do with the things that happen around you. You just can't feel them. But I also know, obviously having, you know, lived through this with you, that it took a while for you to get a diagnosis. And that was a real battle.
Yeah, because I remember when I was younger, I went to like some ADHD clinic because they thought it was just I had really bad ADHD. So I was taking I started with Adderall. Then you said earlier I switched to Vyvanse. Then I switched to Concerta, and all of them were making me feel more anxious when I was in class. Like I'd start sweating more. I didn't really know what it was. I would start stuttering if I had to speak in public. So it was weird being like these medications, they should be helping me, but it seems to make me worse. So that's when I was on those. And then when I tried to take my life the second and last time, I went to CAMH to talk to someone and they finally started me on antidepressants. And that's really, the anxiety started dropping. Like I could speak again. I wasn't nervous I used to be nervous to speak in a group. I didn't want to have attention drawn to me. But it got to the point where I'm fine to do that now. Like everything's a lot easier once you get the right diagnosis.
What's your number?
I'd say I'm at an 8, which is pretty good for me. If you would ask me that like 2-3 years ago, it would be no chance it would be above a 5. And right now I'd say I've gotten up to like 9 and 10 even. It's just right now, the only thing is with COVID, especially, it's getting really boring this long into it. You're starting to run out of things to do. So it's just trying to keep myself busy because when I'm not doing that much and I'm just sitting around, that's when I kind of my mind starts going, remember when you did this one thing in the past that you didn't like? What would have happened if you did this instead? And that's when it starts going down the rabbit hole for me. And I start going through everything.
I mean, that's great that you are doing really well. And obviously that makes me happy for a lot of reasons. Number one, you're my family. Number two, because I genuinely really like you and respect you. And the fact is that you have been through a tough time, like everybody on this show. And look at you, 21 years of age, talking about suicide, talking about depression and anxiety and medication. I'm really proud of you, man.
Thank you. It's a little different from what I would usually be talking about, which is just strictly sports. It's a nice change.
Hang on, Jake. By the way, Jake, why don't you introduce our final guest, Jake? You're going to have to do the math and figure out who's left over here, and it is who?
I think it's Corey Landsberg.
It is. Why don't you introduce him and say something about your cousin?
Well, first off is that my cousin probably has the exact same sense of humor as me, which a lot of the people in our family will be, if we make a joke or something, will be like, "Oh, that's stupid." I get it. I find it funny. So that's always nice.
Cor, say hi to Jake.
Jakey boy, what's up?
Not much.
See, it's always poo jokes with me and Jake. That's that's our sense of humor.
Anything centered around the ass.
Yeah. I guess you could say north of the knee, south of the hips.
Exactly.
So Jake, let's leave Jake on camera as well, so we can have this three-way conversation. So, Cor, what's your story? I know that you came from a terrible home. You never had any advantages. Your parents were verbally abusive to you for sure, and no one ever helped you with your homework.
No, never. And that's why I failed grade 9 math twice. I couldn't get any help from my parents, and I didn't have any good toys. I only had 2 PlayStations, not 3. I was one of those kids that you would say had a tough upbringing.
Yeah, it sounds like other side of the track stuff. So your issue is anxiety and ADHD, as you mentioned. And what was the third one?
OCD. I actually didn't. I didn't mention ADHD because, like, I'm over that. Like I take Ritalin every day and it helps me, so it's not really a factor in my life. If I was off the Ritalin, it for sure would be. But it's not something that really impacts my life at all because I have it under control. I've never had the anxiety under control. And for me, having it somewhat under control is just being able to have it not consume every single minute of my life. And, that's something that you can't control. Like, your brain works in weird ways, right? Like, you don't know why it turns on and turns off the anxiety. You just know that it's there. And for me, I notice a lot of times when I'm sitting on the couch doing nothing, that's when it gets bad. And when I'm busy, working or whatever, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, several people have said that. Jake said that moments ago, right? He said that, this COVID-19, this pandemic, this isolation, when you have too much time and not enough to occupy your brain says, oh my gosh, free time. I'm going to really lace into you now.
I'm going to mess with this guy. Oh, you want to hear some examples of how it's messed with me? I have no problem sharing these stories. So I took off my socks the other day and I noticed that, the bottom of my feet were yellow, and I immediately convinced myself that I had some sort of liver disease because I'd heard that someone who had a problem with their liver, their skin turned yellow, right? So I was freaking out. I immediately started Googling, which I probably shouldn't have done. I'm panicking. I'm starting to sweat because I'm convinced I'm going to die from this. And then I looked down and I realized I just took off these socks. And the bottom of the socks were yellow.
Yeah.
And these were cheap socks that I ordered on Amazon, and they just shown up. And these socks, the ink or whatever it was, rubbed off on the bottom of my feet, and they were yellow. And somehow, someone who doesn't suffer from anxiety, their brain would be able to turn it off, and they'd filter it out, and they'd say, yeah, whatever, I'm sure it's nothing. But me, someone who suffers from anxiety, it immediately goes to worst case scenario. Like, it's like the poison bottles, right? Like, the outside of the labels on the poison bottles.
Yep.
A circle or a triangle is least poisonous. A square is somewhat poisonous, and an octagon is the most poisonous. My brain is an octagon because every single thing is worst case scenario.
Well, I never knew any of that, and that's a really good metaphor for it and a way to describe it. And the yellow socks, you know what that proves to me? Because you're a smart guy, and we clung to that. When I say we, your mom, Karen, and I clung to that through your teenage years. He's smart. It will save him in the end. And I think in a lot of ways it did, but anxiety makes us stupid. You know, you look at your feet and you go, oh, the bottoms of my feet are yellow. I must be jaundice. I must have liver disease. I'm in liver failure. I can't get a new liver right now because during the pandemic, they're not doing transplants. I'm going to be dead in 2 weeks. It makes you so stupid.
It does. And it convinces you, like I don't know what it's like to live with depression because I've never suffered from it. But the best way that I can't explain it, right? But the best way that I can explain anxiety is no matter what the situation is, no matter what problem you think you have, it is always worst case scenario. I have a bad back. I have a bad back from a hockey injury, and I dislocated the SI joint 3 times, and it's very painful. And the last couple days, my back's been kind of sore, and I know exactly what it is. It's just not whatever it is. The muscles aren't tight enough, so not a big deal, right? I know exactly what it is. But I've been able to convince myself in the last few days that there's something seriously wrong in my lower back, and I must have some sort of cancer in there. And I've been through this 3 or 4 times now, and I can't convince myself that it's just exactly what I said it was, which was an SI joint, which is loose. It always has to be worst case scenario.
Hey, I understand that. Well, you know, I understand it. And I think that was a huge advantage for me when you were young, was the ability to say, yes, I get that, because mental illness is, to a mentally healthy brain, totally irrational, right? Well, like, why can't you be happy? Why can't you smile? What are you nervous about, man? Like, come on. That is advice that does nothing for you. And I think—
Are you wearing some like weird bracelets or something?
Am I wearing weird bracelets? I have a watch on.
Maybe tighten the watch. I keep hearing like jingling, like you sound like Santa Claus with a sack of gifts.
First of all, for a Jewish kid to say I sound like Santa Claus would indicate that Santa Claus has actually been to your house, which has
Santa
never
Claus
happened.
is real. Don't tell me otherwise. Okay, go on. Yes.
Well, no, it's one of the things that I'm feeling right now is anxiety. My anxiety yesterday was like, for me, on medication, pretty bad. And when I feel anxiety, I release it, or at least I feel a tiny bit better by shaking my leg, which I don't know if you can see me moving now, but this is like it's relief for some reason. Shaking my leg, shaking my calf, like moving it around makes a difference. So maybe that's what you were hearing.
I guess. I don't know. What can you explain that? I mean, if this is the key to my anxiety and all I had to do was shake my leg, then I'm going to look back on the last 30 years of my life and say, what the hell was I doing? But explain that for me.
No. Well, when I say no, it doesn't make anxiety go away, but it feels comforting to me to do that. And I tweeted that last night, and responses were, me too. Oh my gosh, like the shaking of the leg, and it's only my right leg, and I only do it when I'm anxious. And yeah, I mean, it takes me from a 4 to a 5. And oh God, I can't stop now. Oh my God. Wait.
See, the problem is, if that was me, I would start to convince myself that I had like Parkinson's or MS or something.
Hey, Cor,
yeah.
Cor, I have thought about that.
Okay. Well, I've heard this story many times before. So why don't you tell it again?
No, I'm not going to tell it again. But
Are you running out of material?
No. Like when someone says, "I've heard the story before, but you can tell it again," it's like, no, I'm not going to be that guy.
I've heard it because I'm your son, but that doesn't mean that anybody who's watching has heard it. Would you like me to tell the story?
No, but I would like to say this, that you found your way, and I'm really proud of you. And to hear you speaking about the past without, lamenting the crap in your life, and that you've been able to, if not overcome it, to push it aside, to allow you to do really good things with your life. I'm just really proud of you, man.
Thank you.
I can't believe I just called you man. What the hell's that? I'm proud of you, man. That should be for Jake. Jake, I'm proud of you, man.
Thank you.
Why were you criticizing his beard before?
I was saying
it's not bad.
No, it's amazing. That's what I'm saying. It's, I think he's performance enhancing. I think that if you blood tested him, you'd find that he's doing something to enhance that beard, because that sucker, it's longer now than it was 45 minutes ago.
What's your hair like, Jake?
It has been.
When was the
my
last time
hair
you got your
is
hair cut?
Like 3 months. You guys can't really tell, but it's so curly and so thick right now.
Yep. Mine's terrible, and I'm not taking off my hat. And I was supposed to have my haircut on like March 13th, I think. And on March 12th, I got a call from the barber being like, yeah, we're closing down tomorrow. So we're going to have to cancel your appointment. So I was like his last appointment before this whole fucking thing happened. And my dog's coming down the stairs. Can you see him? Say hi to Carl. There he is.
Hey, Carl.
Come on down, buddy. Yeah, he's coming. So
okay, is the hair story done? Because to be honest with you, nobody gives a shit.
It's done when I take my hat off, but I'm not going to do that.
Don't do it, man. Don't do it. All right.
That's terrible.
Thanks, Cor. Thanks, Jake. We'll try to bring anyone back who's still hanging out. Yeah, I'm ready. Go ahead, Sam. Bring back the whole troupe. I love live theater. Don't bust me on that, Cor. I love live theater. So, you know, when you go and the curtain comes down and then all the performers get there and they get ready to take a bow. That's what we're doing right now. We're getting ready to take a bow. And the answer is, that's it. Where's Courtney? Sean Miller, I knew you would be there. Leanne, you're there. Oh, Colleen, you're there. Oh my God. I thought you guys had all left. Oh my gosh. Courtney, you're there too. Oh, okay. Just before we go, yeah, let's roll this. This was it was written for you. It was on yesterday's show, and yesterday's show was all about guess what? Guess what?
Hope.
Roll it.
Roll it.
Life is hard, life is tough. Sometimes you think you've had enough, but wash your hands, water and soap, and fill your heart with lots of hope. Yeah, it's a nation in isolation. It's a difficult situation. It's a nation in isolation. Now's the time to have some aspirations. Yeah. It's a hopeful time.
Nice. That was such a great experience for me. I can honestly tell you. Hey, Sean.
Yeah.
You killed it, man. Like when I invited you to do this, it was like, oh, I don't know. It was like, you're a natural performer too. Oh, wait a sec. Did I see you on Dragon's Den?
You did. You did.
I thought you looked familiar. So,
Courtney, I love your baby. She's so cute.
Thank you. She is cute, right?
So cute.
You baby.
This is awesome. Let's just give a Brady Bunch goodbye. Leanne, you look up. Corey, you look down. I'm going to look down. Courtney, you look up. Colleen, you look up to Sean. Sean, you look up and then look down. You ready, everyone? And
you didn't give me a.
Here's the story about a lovely lady. Did that work? I think it did. Jake, what are you doing?
You didn't tell me which way to go.
Look down. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so
Bye.
much. That was awesome. Thanks,
Bye.
Mike. Great. Bye, everybody.
Bye.